Welcome back to this course on football equipment management brought to you by the University of West Georgia Football. I'm your host, Jordan Roberts, and in this video we will be talking about equipment maintenance, repair, and sanitation. Please note that at the end of this video there will be a demonstration portion focusing on maintenance and repair of football helmets and shoulder pads. Maintaining football equipment is one of the most important parts of the job. It goes beyond keeping things clean or organized, and proper maintenance directly impacts player safety, equipment performance, and overall program accountability. If equipment is not maintained correctly, it can fail, and when it fails, it puts athletes at risk, and that falls onto the equipment managers. Helmet maintenance should be approached as a consistent, ongoing process. On a daily basis, you should inspect every helmet for visible cracks or structural damage. Even small cracks can compromise the integrity of the helmet. You also need to check the face mask attachments to make sure everything is secure. Loose or damaged hardware can create safety issues upon contact. Another daily responsibility is sanitizing the interior padding. This helps maintain hygiene and prevents buildup from sweat and bacteria. One of the biggest problems that an equipment manager can face is finding out that there's been an outbreak of staph in your equipment, in your locker room. On a weekly basis, you should take time to go a step further. Retighten all hardware to ensure nothing has loosened over time. Football is a high-impact sport, and even properly secured components can shift from day-to-day activities such as practice or OTAs. You should also inspect chin straps to make sure they are still functioning correctly and providing proper support. At the end of each year, helmets must go through reconditioning and recertification. This is not optional. It is a required process to ensure helmets continue to meet safety standards. For a helmet to remain in use, it must be reconditioned annually. This process must be completed by a licensed NOC reconditioner. Once reconditioned, the helmet will receive a certification seal that confirms it meets current safety standards. Without that certification, the helmet should not be used in a practice, OTA, or game situation. Shoulder pads also require regular attention. You should routinely inspect all straps and buckles to make sure they are secure and functioning properly. Damaged or worn components, such as rivets, need to be replaced as soon as possible. You should also sanitize the foam and liners to maintain hygiene and extend the life of the equipment. Sanitation is a key part of equipment management. You should always use EPA-approved disinfectants that are safe for athletic equipment. This ensures that you are effectively cleaning gear without damaging the materials. Consistent sanitation not only keeps equipment in good condition, but it also protects the health of your athletes. At the end of the day, equipment maintenance is about consistency and attention to detail. When you stay on top of daily, weekly, and annual responsibilities, you reduce risk, extend the life of your equipment, and create a safer environment for your players. That level of consistency is what defines a reliable and effective equipment manager. Thank you for stopping by. We will now move on to the demonstration portion of this video. Welcome back. In this video, Corey and I are going to be demonstrating to you an important piece of football equipment, and that is helmet adjustment and repair, as well as shoulder pad repair. Now, first we're going to show you how to take off a face mask. So each Rydell helmet repair kit comes standard with a Rydell tool. For newer models, it's going to be a red tool that looks like this. For some older models, it's going to be the exact same tool, but it'll be, the color will be black. And to take off the face mask, you take either of these two pins on the back of the tool, and you press down on the helmet screws and pull up on the face mask clips, and that's all there is to it. There is a washer on the inside that allows these Rydell screws to clip into the inner part of the helmet. And if you ever have an issue where a Rydell clip or a Rydell screw is not clipping into the helmet, then that usually means that the washer is out of place, or sometimes it can be that the face mask has warped over time where it is too big to fit the helmet. And to reattach your screws, you do the same process as earlier. You press down with the Rydell tool, and then you use this bottom piece to press the screw where it clips into the washer. And the same thing for this piece. Now, the next piece that we're going to show you on this helmet is how to take off your bladder caps so that you can take out a piece of padding if you need to replace it. And all you need is a flathead screwdriver, and it comes out just like a screw. Now I can remove my pad like so, and to replace it, simply put the screw back on, hold your pad in place, and screw it back in. And then when you're done with that piece, you want to flip it over and make sure that you put your pad back in all the way. That way it is doing its job, and so it is comfortable for the player. To take the liner of the helmet out, there are three buttons that you can unclip to take out your pad, and then from there you just take the padding out of the liner, and there is a strap on the back of this piece of the liner that goes around the crown pad, and that keeps the liner in place even if these buttons are not clipped in. And then to replace it, just clip your buttons back in. And you're back in business. The next thing that we're going to show you is how to take off the bottom of the chin strap. If you want to replace a chin strap, you'll need to know how to do this. We'll be using the Rydell tool again. It has a piece on the front that is designed to go around these chin strap screws so that you can use it to unscrew and tighten the screws as much as possible, because it is a little bit difficult to get a grip around the screws if it's really tight. And then just pull this out. And then if you want to finish taking the chin strap off, all you need is a Phillips head or flat head will do to unscrew the top strap. There is also a washer on the inside of the helmet for these. So if you're having issues with your screw not coming out or not going in, one of the things that it could be is that the washer is out of place and the screw is not going into the washer. Sometimes you can also have a stripped screw or a stripped washer, in which case you would need to replace the screw or the washer. Now, I'm going to screw this back in. Now, if you'll put that helmet on, we're going to demonstrate how to adjust the chin strap. Now, the main issues you can have with not having a properly fitted chin strap is that you can have a player in the middle of the game, he gets hit from the front and his head jerks back and the helmet just comes right off. We don't want that to happen because we want the players to be as safe as possible. So to adjust the chin strap, you unscrew this piece, and if you want to make the chin strap tighter, you pull up on the strap. If you want to make it looser, you pull down on the strap, like so. And many times it's up to a player's preference how he wants the chin strap to be fitted. And it can take some back and forth between adjusting each side of the chin strap. And you also don't want your helmet to be sitting too high or too low or too backwards or too forward, because having a helmet that sits too far backwards or too far forwards can create uncomfortability with the helmet. It can make it uneven, and as far as too high or too low, that can also make it easier for the helmet to come off of a player. It may not be touching his head, and which would prevent it from doing its job. And you can also have a helmet that's pressing down too much on the player's head. So if you want to adjust how high or how low the helmet is, lean down. There is a bladder on the top of the helmet. And to put air in the helmet, you squeeze this bulb. And based on the bulb, I can see that I have completely filled the bladder in the top padding of the helmet. And now I look at the camera. This helmet has not adjusted because of the player's hair. However, on most players, you would notice that the helmet sits more than an inch above the eyebrows, which means that it is too high. And in that case, we would need to take air out of the helmet. And to take air out of the helmet, you simply push this button on the side of the helmet, and I can feel the air releasing. And a trick that I've learned from Corey here is that if the air is not releasing, you can have the player press their head up against the helmet while you push the helmet into their head, and that helps squeeze the air out of the pad. And now if you look at the camera, okay, I can tell this time that the helmet has lowered on it as far as its placement on his head. And sometimes players will complain that their cheek pads are too tight or there's not enough air in them. And it's the same method there. You want comfortability, where if a player gets hit and the helmet jerks into their cheek, then they've got adequate padding, but they don't have too much padding so that it's hard as a rock and does more harm than good. There are also bladders, if you'll turn around, there are also bladders above the neck bumper and on the back of the head. And those can be used to adjust your helmet as well. Now, the next thing we'll do is we will show you the main piece of repair that you'll need to do on a pair of shoulder pads, and that's removing and replacing a back plate. For this video's purposes, we'll just be using one back plate. We won't be putting a different back plate on. But you just need a flathead or Phillips head screwdriver. I usually find that flatheads do the best work. And usually you will have, for a pair of shoulder pads, you will have two washers. You'll have a washer that goes on the back to catch the screw, and then you'll have a washer that goes in between the screw and the shoulder pad liner. And it's pretty simple. It's just a screw and a screwdriver. Sometimes you'll have issues with older pairs of shoulder pads that have had a back plate on them for a significant amount of time. Sometimes the washer will rust, and in those cases you will need a pair of clamps to hold the washer in place while you take out the screw. And then to replace your back plate, you simply reverse the process and replace the screw back into the washer. And now your player's ready to go. One thing to note about back plates is that many of them have many adjustments that can be made to the as to how low the back plate sits. For example, this back plate has 3 settings: low, medium, and high. And which adjustment you should make depends solely on the player and what they want. Many players want their back plates lower on their lower back to be able to be seen by members of the crowd or people at home. And on some back plates, you have 6 different adjustments. So you can have it low, medium, or high, and you can also have it fitted, have the fit wider. And that's our video on helmet, shoulder pad adjustment and repair. Thank you for stopping by. We'll see you in the next one.